So what's going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another zombies video, where today we're going to be talking about everything Season 5, everything we've been told by TREYARCH, also the final zombies map, DLC 4, the perks, the potential of new Easter eggs being added into Outbreak, which is something TREYARCH have never done before in zombies, and a few other things as well, which include TREYARCH's Dark Ether story being continued on in this year's COD, Vanguard. So anyway, as always, if you go into enjoy today's video, don't forget to drop a like rating if you want to. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. But let's get into this. Here we go, and enjoy. So starting off by talking about Season 5 and zombies, from the new perk, the new tier upgrade, some big changes that TREYARCH are making to the gameplay side. If you want to check this article out for yourself, I will link it down in the description. But they start off by saying, as we continue development on our next round-based zombies map in Black Ops Cold War, we get ready for new content to enjoy in every pillar of the zombies experience in Season 5. That starts with a new upgradable perk, field upgrade, and support weapon coming to all round-based maps and Outbreak. First up, we have our new perk, which we know is Death Perception. One I can't say I'm too excited about, but let's see if TREYARCH can change my mind. They tell us this incredibly useful perk is all about survivability, awareness, salvage drop rates, and increased armor damage. And then they tell us all of its upgrades. So its base ability allows you to see obscured enemies through walls. When you upgrade it to skill tier 1, the minimap update rate is increased. Skill tier 2 means enemies give damage indicators when behind the player. Skill tier 3, you gain 20% more loot salvage and high grade salvage. Skill tier 4, you increase armor penetration by 25%. And skill tier 5, nearby chests, resources and item drops are keyline through walls. Upgrading Death Perception will allow players to become more aware of the dangers around them, both through walls and behind them, and the added bonus of 20% additional loot salvage and high grade salvage is an absolute game changer at any round. At tier 4, the 25% boost to armor penetration damage can become a lifesaver and makes any player a force to be reckoned with in the main quest boss fights and high rounds. Just as we've done with other perks in Black Ops Cold War, Death Perception's final upgrade at tier 5 taps into elements of previous classic perks. Fans of Black Ops 2's Vault Trade will be pleased to gain the abilities to see nearby chests, resources and item drops outlined through walls after fully upgrading this perk, which comes in handy when mimics are disguised as nearby items and when hidden objects in Outbreak would otherwise be obscured from your line of sight. Hit up the Wonderfizz machine during Season 5 to pick up Death Perception and check out its all new jingle in all round based maps and in Outbreak. In Season 6, Death Perception's dedicated perk machine will debut alongside our 10th and final Perk-a-Cola. What could it be? Okay, so overall it doesn't sound too bad. Death Perception was a perk that first debuted in Black Ops 4. In my opinion, it wasn't one of the best. Actually, it was probably one of the worst. I never really found it very useful, so its base ability to me isn't very good. I also don't care for skill tier 1 where the minimap update rate is increased, or skill tier 2 where you get a danger indicator if an enemy is behind you. But skill tier 3 is pretty useful when you get 20% more loot. That's going to be very useful for high rounds and, like it says, boss fights. And so is a 25% increase to armor penetration damage. And skill tier 5 is pretty much Vault Trade, which is going to be useful if you play Outbreak a lot. So it's not a terrible perk, but it kind of feels like a filler until we get the final perk, which I would have thought we'd be getting in our next round-based zombies map. That's when we'll get our 10th and final perk in Black Ops Cold War, which also makes it sound like that will be our final map as well. If we're only getting one more perk in Cold War, you would think we're only getting one more map as well, which is what we expected. We usually only get 4 DLCs. DLC 1 was Firebase C, DLC 2 was Outbreak, as said by TREYARCH, DLC 3 was Maudertoten, and so DLC 4 we should be getting in Season 6, which will be the final round-based map in Cold War, and we'll also be getting the final Perk-a-Cola then as well. We don't know what it's going to be. The leaks tell us that it could be PhD, it also could be Double Tap. I would really like Double Tap in the game. PhD I'm not too bothered about. Also, how would that work in a game where we can't dolphin dive, we can only slide? Surely they'd have to change it to fit that. But yeah, confirmation that we will be getting one final perk in Cold War, and also another zombies map, which will be DLC 4. And if we just look at a tweet that was put out by Tom Henderson, who was a very credible leaker, he said, as expected, there is one more zombies map in development for Black Ops Cold War. After that, well, the story continues. Someone then asked him, but didn't they say last? And he replied, the story continues. And what I believe he is referring to is the fact that TREYARCH are continuing on the Dark Ether story in COD 2021. Call of Duty Vanguard, we know that TREYARCH are making the zombies portion for that game, so the Dark Ether story will continue from Black Ops Cold War. Whatever happens in DLC 4 will continue on in COD Vanguard. Since TREYARCH told us we are only getting one more perk in Black Ops Cold War, I would assume we are getting no more maps after DLC 4 in this game, but the story is going to continue in Vanguard anyway. So literally a couple of months after DLC 4 releases, technically we'll be getting the next TREYARCH Zombies map, because that's when Vanguard will come out. Again, something we've never seen in zombies before. We've always had to wait at least, 2 years for Treyarch's story to continue. Now we're going to have Treyarch Zombies 2 years in a row. Moving on though, there is a little bit more to do with a certain perk in Cold War, which is Tombstone. I think since this was added, it's going to be the perk I've used the least. I would much rather just use my self-res because, well, I find it easier, it's quicker to revive yourself, and you can always just craft another one. In my personal opinion, Tombstone is the least useful perk in the game, and it seems like Treyarch might agree because they have made a few changes to it. Players now take 25% less damage in shadow form, and the cost has been removed from the Tombstone stash. So now when you die out, you don't have to spend extra points to get your perks and weapons back, and also it's going to be easier to revive yourself when you're in your shadow form. So that does make it a little bit better, but it's still going to be the last perk I'm going to buy. That's if I do want to buy it. Moving on to the new field upgrade then. We know that it's called Tesla Storm. As for what it does, well, it's regular base ability which lasts for 10 seconds. The lightning from it connects to other players, which stuns and damages normal enemies. For skill tier 1, essentially the damage is doubled. For skill tier 2, the duration is increased to 15 seconds. Skill tier 3, special enemies can be stunned and damaged by the Tesla Storm. Skill tier 4, players generating a field gain get 25% increased movement speed. And skill tier 5, elite enemies can be stunned and damaged by the Tesla Storm. Whether you're playing with friends or doing your own thing, the Tesla Storm generates a devastating field of lightning around you, so all enemies will be stunned and damaged in close proximity. Coupled with a 25% movement speed boost at tier 5 and the ability to stun and damage elites, this field upgrade has the potential to get you out of the stickiest situations. It's pretty difficult to tell really how good it's gonna be. The two best in the game right now for me are Ether Shroud or the one that replenishes your armor. I can't remember what it's called. Since it sounds like it doesn't kill the zombies, just damages them and stuns them, we'll just have to wait and see. And for those who like it hot, the flamethrower is also coming to all round based maps and Outbreak as a support weapon at a lower cost compared to some of the more commonly used support items in the game so far. So trade in your salvage, which is where the tier upgrades for death perception is going to come in useful, and you can obtain the flamethrower. In Outbreak, we're pulling out all of the stops with the new collateral region, transport objective, tank vehicle, grapple gun crafting item, disciple enemy, new narrative intel to discover, and 2 new playlists. This Outbreak specific incarnation of collateral has been crafted just for zombies, with a custom play space bounded by the confines of the Dark Ether and an eerie sandstorm filling the Algerian desert skyline. We've heard the feedback from Outbreak players that getting around the Jura Mountains can take a little bit too long when you don't have a vehicle nearby. Enter the grapple gun, a new piece of equipment available at the crafting table exclusively in Outbreak to make traversing regions and completing long distance objectives a snap. The new transport objective gives players even more content to take on throughout the regions, and if you've ever wanted to take on an order in a freaking tank, your wish has been granted. For those more casual players who just want to drop in for a few rounds and exfil with their friends, we've introduced 2 playlists for the mode. Endless, which offers the standard Outbreak experience where you can wrap an exfil from any region, and the new 3 region playlist. In the 3 region playlist, the option to warp is only available in the first 2 regions, and exfil is your only option in the 3rd region. So you can drop in, fly out, and stock up on those Ethereum crystals at your leisure. Before Season 5 begins, Zombies players will be able to get a head start on hunting crucial new narrative intel in Outbreak, which will continue the Dark Ether story after the events of Mauer Toten. You won't want to miss a single intel drop this season, as it all builds up to the events of our next round-based zombies map. So again, confirming that we are getting another round-based map after this, and the story in Outbreak continues after Mauer Toten. So hopefully we'll get more info on the director, Samantha, what's going to happen as a result of what we did in Berlin with Valentina and the Forsaken. And then finishing off, they've told us a bunch of changes they're making to round-based maps, starting off with Mauer Toten to the gameplay. In Season 5, they are adding a couple of hidden surprises. Winky face. Now, this is very secretive. What does this mean? It affects the gameplay, so it is something we can do in game, and from what everyone has been speculating, they are adding new Easter eggs to Mauer. I'm sure they would have heard the main complaints that the round-based maps don't really have any side Easter eggs when you compare them to BO4, BO3. There were so many Easter eggs in those maps, but in not only Mauer Toten, but D Machine, Firebase C, there aren't really many side Easter eggs. So although it's secretive, them saying they're adding a couple of hidden surprises to the gameplay of Mauer Toten means potentially we could be seeing some hidden Easter eggs added to the map, which is something they've never done before. After a Zombies map has been released, Treyarch have never gone back and added extra Easter eggs, so that's a first. To do with the main quest, they've addressed an issue where the boss could become stuck when the player quickly moved to the next arena during the main quest boss fight. They've also closed an exploit that allowed infinitely charging and activating the field upgrade for the canisters during the main quest. They've fixed some stability issues to do with Klaus, the main quest, and the armor caches. To do with general gameplay, they've reduced max essence for respawning players in round-based maps to 25,000. 1000. This will now cap at round 25 instead of round 50, and there are a few season challenges as well. So there we go. That is everything I wanted to cover in today's video to do with season 5. Some pretty big changes that TREYARCH are making, especially to do with new hidden things being added into Toten. It'd be great if they could do that for other zombies maps as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.